Good morning to everyone. Buenos días. Ahora mismo en España es temprano por la mañana. So good morning to everyone. Now in Spain it's very early in the morning. And today we are going to deal with the lesson about common miscommunications and how to avoid them in Spanish. Remember, if you like to see the other sessions, as you can see on the screen, they are recorded here. Live classes recording here on the left. You can find them. Remember that you have seen the Module 1, Introduction to Spanish Culture and Daily Etiquettes. Module 2, Workplace Communication and Professional Etiquette. Module 3, Social Interactions and Small Talk. Module 5, Dining Etiquette and Social Gatherings. Number 5, Daily Life, Public Transport and Shopping. We were dealing with the different means of transport, how to buy a ticket or how to ask for information, healthcare and emergency situations, cultural sensitivities and taboos in Spanish culture, like for example politics or any other things about culture. We don't like people criticizing Spanish culture too much. Then understanding humor and idioms, because, well, the sense of humor is different in different cultures. And finally, last week, we were dealing with appointments and scheduling, especially if you are late, if you like to change your appointments, you can find the live class here. Today is a very simple module, a very simple lesson. It's about common miscommunications and how to avoid them. So the class is divided into parts. Similar words with different meanings. I mean, false friends, I'm sure you know, because in English we have the same. And clarifying doubts politely to avoid misunderstandings. So let's deal with common communications and how to avoid them. So let's see first facts about miscommunication. Sometimes literal translations can lead to confusion. Spanish idioms and expressions often don't translate directly into English. That's very common, especially with Latin languages. I don't think it's going to be the same with your language, but Romance languages like Italian, Portuguese, or Spanish, they have lots of words in common, and sometimes also with English. So if you translate literally word by word, it can lead to confusion. So try to think generally and try to avoid direct translations. Formality is important, as you can see in the picture. So apart from we have seen in any other sessions, eye contact, gesture, physical language, we try to add formality. Formality is really important. And for formality, when speaking in Spanish, instead of tú, we use usted. Because if you use tú, it may seem as unpolite. Remember that you in Spanish has two different forms. When you like to address someone, we use tú in informal situations with friends. ¿Tú quieres venir conmigo? Do you like to come with me? But we use usted for polite situations, when people we don't know for the first time, when it's someone you don't know. So you say, ¿usted quiere venir conmigo? Instead of tú. Or, ¿tú quieres una taza de té? Do you like a cup of tea? But if it is someone you don't know, ¿usted quiere una taza de té? Do you like a cup of tea? So remember, eye contact, using your hands and gestures, and avoid to use tú in very formal situations. False friends in Spanish. Well, the same as in English, in Spanish we have false friend. False friends are words that look or sound similar in English and Spanish, but you have different meanings. For example, let's see. We can say, for example, carpet. Carpet is similar to carpeta in Spanish, but it isn't. It means alfombra. Or, for example, we have embarazada. Embarazada can be similar to the English word embarrassment, but it's not. In Spanish, it means pregnant. The same as ropa. Ropa in Spanish means clothes, not rope. But so many people, when they say ropa, as it is similar to rope, in your brain, you can think that ropa means rope. There are lots of them in Spanish, so be careful with those false friends. Here we have a list of them. For example, severo. Severo means very, very strict, but in English is not severe. This is the correct translation. Patología, bulla, actual. Actual is one of the common ones. We have actual in Spanish, but actual does not mean nowadays, like in English. It means real. Adverse, discontinue, manejo, score. Yes, apart from false friends, which are words that are similar in both languages, but then they have completely different meanings, we have lots of Anglicisms in Spain. We are influenced by Hollywood, by the movies we see in original version, by the English culture. Halloween is celebrated here, the same as in United States, because commercial reasons. We also celebrate San Valentine, the 14th of February, for those people who fell in love. And we have lots of words coming from Spanish, from English language. For example, we use penalty when playing football, and we use score. It's an English word, we know, but it's introduced in Spanish language. Here there are some false friends in French and English. For example, advertencia. Advertencia in Spanish is not advertisement, it's warning. Actualmente is maybe the most common false friend you can find. Actualmente, it means currently. Nothing to do with the original meaning in English. Herir means to wound. Descargar is unload. Sótano is cellar. Apuntar is point out. Smoking is to shed. It's not smoking. Maybe if you see smoking, it's a very easy one to be confused. Smoking, maybe you can think that we are talking about smoking. No, we are talking about the clothes that men wear in very formal occasions. Yellow is ice. So usually, as I told you before, words are similar in Latin languages coming from Latin, like French, Italian, or Spanish, Portuguese also. Sometimes with English, because English has a Saxon Latin influence, and we need to be careful with that. So when you don't understand something, when you, as you can see in the picture, you have some when you have some doubts, you can say, lo siento, no entiendo. Lo siento, no entiendo. So the person is going to repeat that again, or maybe he or she is going to explain it with any other words. ¿Puede repetirlo, por favor? ¿Puede repetirlo, por favor? Remember again that we use a lot por favor, please, or I'm sorry, lo siento. And remember again, we use question marks at the beginning and at the end of every sentence, different from English that use question marks just at the end. Also, for interrogative sentences, we have some kind of different intonation. ¿Puede repetirlo, por favor? It's not flat, it's like singing. ¿Qué significa eso? ¿Qué significa eso? It's another way to clarify doubts. ¿Puede hablar más despacio? ¿Puede hablar más despacio? Quería decir, when you say something, and that's not the real thing you like to express, you can say quería decir, and you use any other words. For example, if you come here and we have the false friend smoking, maybe you can say something wrong with the word smoking, so you use this one. Quería decir, and you explain the thing you like to say. So this is really important. I think you need to have a bank of sentences. You can use, this is for politely ask for clarification. ¿Podría repetirlo, por favor? Remember to add, please. ¿Qué significa esta palabra? ¿O qué significa esta frase? ¿Qué significa esta expresión? ¿Qué significa este modismo? Modismo is a very, very polite word to say idiom. ¿Podría hablar más despacio, por favor? So some people in Spain, we usually speak too fast, and we know, but it's okay if you say, ¿podría hablar más despacio, por favor? And the person in front of you, for sure, is going to speak slowly. No estoy seguro de haberlo entendido bien. It means that you are not sure, so the other person, again, is going to explain it with any other words. So remember, if you have some notes from this lesson, remember to politely ask for clarification. You can use these expressions. Remember to use polite phrases like perdón or disculpe. Remember I told you here that por favor, perdón, also here, lo siento, por favor. Lo siento is very important. Por favor is very important. Same here, por favor, por favor. And instead of being directly, you can say directly, I cannot understand. It's better to speak politely. No estoy seguro de haberlo entendido bien. I'm not sure if I understand that correctly. Again, perdón, disculpe. So avoid being abruptly. For example, ¿qué? No, this is not polite. It sounds rude or too direct. So avoid to be too direct. Instead of that, be polite. No sé si he entendido bien. No estoy seguro. I'm not sure if I have understood. ¿Podría explicarlo, por favor? Again, we have por favor. And repeat what you understood and ask, is that correct? This is very common in Spanish. This one. You can repeat what you understood and say, is it correct? You are checking. So this is very common, very polite, and I strongly recommend you to use this to check if you have understand correctly the information. So try to use the false friends that you have learned and let the other participant understand the real meaning of them. You can find lots of them, and you can use them to see if you have understood. So to recap, Remember the module for today is common miscommunications and how to avoid them. It has two different parts, similar words with different meanings. We can see here. You have different similar words with different meanings and clarifying doubts politely. Here you have. So remember that today we have seen facts about miscommunications, try to avoid literal translations, and try to use formalities, important. Then we have seen force friend in Spanish, the force amis. For example, when a word is similar to any other word in your language or in any other language, embarazada is similar to embarrassment, but in Spanish it means pregnant. Or ropa is similar to rope, but in Spain it means clothes. It is a list of false friends that can lead you to confusion, and you have the correct Spanish translation. Then you have false friends in French and English. Clarifying doubts. Remember, I have underlined for you the words that are common in Spanish. Por favor, por favor. We have seen how to ask politely for clarification. And have a round a way which is really common in Spain when you like to be sure that you have understood and you can ask us correcto. And then we have seen some role play. So this is all for today. Thank you very much for your attention. Remember, you have the recording modules here on the left on your website, and see you next week. Thank you very much to everyone. Muchísimas gracias. Muchísimas gracias a todos por vuestra atención. Thank you very much for your attention. In Spanish, when we left, we say adiós, which means goodbye. And we say, te veo la próxima semana. See you next week. So that's the way we have seen in the first module. So when I arrive and say hola, buenos días, por la mañana en España, that's when you arrive. When we start the lesson, I say buenos días, which means good morning. Welcome to this lesson. Bienvenidos a esta lección. And now I'm leaving. I say goodbye. See you next week.